Welcome, everyone, to the State of the Community presentation. I'm Richard Pyatt, your moderator for today's program. Thanks for joining us today as we come together to hear updates and highlights from our local leaders about the progress of our communities in 2025 and what's in store for 2026. We're excited to have leaders from the city of Albion, Battle Creek, Marshall, and Springfield, as well as Calhoun County, here to share their insights. A special thanks to our dedicated leaders and all of you, our community members, for taking time to watch today. After each leader presents updates on their respective municipalities, the panel will respond to the questions submitted in advance by our residents. So let me introduce today's speakers. From the city of Albion, Interim City Manager Doug Terry is here today. Should also acknowledge the newly named City Manager Cheryl Terrio, who will be assuming the position soon. From Battle Creek, City Manager Amanda Zimmerlin is here. From Marshall, City Manager Derek Perry. From Springfield, City Manager Aaron Edlefson. And from Calhoun County, the Administrator Controller Kelli Scott. Thanks for being here, everyone. We will hear presentations now in the order we just illustrated, starting with the city of Albion. Doug.
Good morning. Again, my name is Doug Terry, and I'm pleased to share with you some of Albion's accomplishments. But first of all, let me just preface by saying it is wonderful to be a partner with all of our counterparts in Calhoun County. We admire the leadership that Kelli and her staff, and of course the Board of Commissioners, have provided us. And of course our other municipal partners of Battle Creek, Springfield, Marshall, and of course Albion. Currently, the city of Albion is blessed to have a city council that recognizes the investment of infrastructure. We feel that the investment provides reliable utilities for our citizens and safe and reliable water and sewer systems, and of course, roads. And as the governor's initiative of fixing the roads, Albion has done a wonderful job of investing in its roads. Of course, those roads are shared in the right-of-ways of our public utilities, and so we fix roads from the bottom up. And so we're very pleased. To give you some ideas, in 2025, we spent, through a bond issue, over $5 million in road and infrastructure repair. And going into 26, we hope to spend at least $7 million. We have a new 1 million gallon elevated water storage facility that will go into service in the latter part of the summer of 26, and that will provide another reliable source of water for our citizens. Currently, the city maintains approximately 58 miles of roads and streets in our city, and approximately the same for water and sewer, 104 miles of sidewalk. Currently, the city is making investments in replacing both of those. There's many wonderful things. Of course, we're a host of Albion College, and we really enjoy that partnership. They've done an excellent job of partnering with our city council and our citizens in providing a good educational environment for our students coming from all parts of the world. So we're very pleased with Albion College's participation. We're going through a renaissance in our community, especially in our downtown, where significant investments have been made in an older downtown. Of course, Albion, established in approximately 1836, has grown over the years. Some of those buildings are original, and so we're taking our time renovating those. So we're very pleased with the investments that have been made. As you can see, our DDA has made $7,500 match in our facade loans, our EDC revolving loan fund, 5 local businesses, $183,000, a $1 million investment in a new proposed industrial park on the east side of our city. We're very excited about the partnership that we'll have with the city of Marshall and, of course, the Blue Oval facility going forward. We see that as a wonderful opportunity for our citizens of Calhoun County and, again, the city of Albion as well. And we compliment the city of Marshall for their aggressive economic development programs. We try to replicate that, and we want to partner with Marshall and Calhoun County in that regards. Going forward in 2026, our DDA, again, will be making significant investments in our downtown. We support many community events. We have the Juneteenth celebration. We just opened up a new art center on Cass Street, which will house both amateur and professional artists from all over the country. We have the Festival of Forks, and again, Albion Aglow Parade and the holiday aftermarket. We're making significant investments in our park system. We host many parks in our community, and those parks are open to everybody. So we would welcome all of our citizens from Calhoun County to enjoy the assets that Albion has to offer. Where you have a sister city dedication with 2 cities in France. And again, moving forward, our Christmas in July, which is a major fundraiser for our city, community table in which we help indigent families with food needs. And again, our expected work goals, new wayfinding signs in our downtown. The water treatment and wastewater treatment plants are under major expansions at this time. And so we're making progress in infrastructure, and we're going to be constructing $7 million this summer in improvements to Dean, Beamer, Hoagland, and Magnata Streets, along with Cass Street in Albion. So we're very pleased with the progress that we've made this year. We look forward going forward. Our city council is very pleased and very progressive in trying to meet the needs of our citizens. So we're happy to give our citizens an update. And again, the partnership we enjoy with Calhoun County is very much appreciated.
All right, Doug Terry, Interim City Manager, City of Albion. Thank you. Next in our presentations from Battle Creek, City Manager Amanda Zimmerlin.
Good morning. I'm very happy to be here today to be able to deliver an update on what's been going on in our community. In 2025, our current City Commission has been very proactive in looking at infrastructure for the city and also looking at facilities and what we can do to better our community. We do have an election coming up this November, and we also have an election coming up in May for some charter amendments that would amend our charter to allow for commissioners to remain in their seats for 4 years rather than 2. Some updates for 2025 for review. 2025 was defined by new leadership, strategic planning, and key groundwork to support our city's future. First, we got a new city manager.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. 2025 definitely was a year of transition, and one of the biggest changes came right at the end when I joined our team. The city manager's role took a little longer to fill than we all expected, but I am quite happy that I was a selected candidate. I spent my first few months listening, learning, and getting grounded in the community's priorities. I'm excited to help us move forward with clarity and momentum. Our centralized facilities management in 2025, we really took a deep look at that. We tried to create a more clear and consistent process for maintaining our city buildings. The goal is straightforward: to understand our needs earlier, plan repairs and replacements and predictability, and reduce the chances of costly surprises. Our 2025-2029 consolidated plan was also completed. This is a roadmap for how we use federal housing and community development grant funds to reflect what we heard from neighbors: a need for safe, affordable housing, stronger neighborhoods, better engagement, and more support for families experiencing poverty. Not only that, we also looked internally, and we've been laying the groundwork for organizational development strategies coming out this spring. It's all about investing in our workforce, building the skills, improving hiring practices, and creating a culture centered on service. It's a key step to making sure not only we have good plans, but good people and tools to carry them out to serve our community. Our neighbors and quality of life was also an item that we took a look at in 2025. In 2025, we focused on the strengthening the places that people call home, from making older housing safer to helping neighborhoods recover from unexpected challenges. Our lead abatement program we continued to strengthen with working with our partners across the county. The state renewed funding that let us renovate about 25 homes annually, and HUD awarded us a major 4-year grant to expand outreach, support contractors, and make dozens more homes safe, impacting beyond the city with help from our community action partners. We also are working to bring more contractors into the program because protecting kids from lead exposure starts with having enough trained people ready to do the work. And then in May, when the storms rolled through and caused so much damage, the city stepped in with a one-time citywide cleanup to help neighbors recover faster. Not something we usually do, but definitely the right thing to do. We've also taken a hard look at infrastructure. We completed the Watkin Road reconstruction. One big milestone was finishing that project, and I'm sure no one is happier than our residents on Watkins Road to have that done. We replaced aging culverts and upgraded utilities. Wet weather slowed us down a bit, but it was an improvement on a safety project and one we are all relieved to have wrapped up. Our Verona well field was another item that we tackled. The work was probably our toughest challenge in 2025. A mix of factors lined up: heavy rain, well drilling activities in 2024, and a low water use rate in parts of the system. Together, those conditions made it easier for the TTHMs to form because the chlorine has more time to react with the natural organic chemicals. That's the issue we've been working through since then. We continue to work with our state regulators to address this issue and have been encouraged by results in our more recent samplings. It's a critical project for a long-term water supply, and you can expect to hear more. Also, on the economic development and innovation front, we're transforming the city-owned airport into a major business park for building, testing drones. By doing this, we aim to attract new companies, create high-skill labor jobs in our local community, and bring millions of dollars in state and federal funding to boost our local economy. In 2025, we focused on making our digital services more accessible ahead of the 2026 requirements for the government websites to meet WCAG standards, the guidelines that ensure online information works for people of all abilities. We completed a full accessibility review of the city's website and began updating key platforms. That included improving how people access meeting agendas, how they search and sign up for recreation programs, how they receive calendar alerts, city alerts, and how they make payments online. These upgrades put us in a strong position to meet the federal accessibility deadline in 2026, but we still have more work to do. We also focused on engaging with our community. In 2025, we used the National Community Survey to help us understand how residents are getting information and where we should focus our community efforts. The results pointed us towards continuing to invest in digital tools, especially websites, which was the most used source for the city information. We also heard interest in more mobile-friendly options, which suggested potential in revisiting tools like our service request app. Overall, the survey showed a mix of stability and areas where people are seeing improvement, including perceptions of communication and city governance. And while the digital tools matter, we also know nothing replaces connection in person. Through our trunk or treats, DPW Day, Fire Prevention Week, and all the moments that we get to meet our neighbors face to face, and we're looking forward to more of those in 2026. 2026 for us marks a shift from planning to execution, with key investments in our operations. In our infrastructure, again, our Verona Wellfield activation, we expect approval from Eagle any day on the activation of our first 5 new wells. This is a major turning point in resolving the TTHM issue, which we've been working through. Our most recent sampling results show that TTHM levels below the regulatory limit across the entire system. That's a positive sign, but it doesn't change the official violation because these were off-cycle samples. It does show that we're headed in the right direction as we continue towards full resolution in 2026. We're also working with the county to modernize our outdoor warning system sirens, so it's more reliable, easier to monitor, and less prone to false activations. 2 sirens at North Washington School and I-94 rest area are being replaced this spring. and we're evaluating the Urbandale unit due to winter issues. The rest of the upgrades will roll out once financing is finalized. We've also been working through the transition of BCATs to TAC. The city is providing operational and administrative support to the TAC to help Ride Calhoun until Ride Calhoun launches successfully. On July 1, the TAC will take full independent operation. We're also working on our fire stations. We expect to break ground this spring on our new fire stations, an important step in modernizing for public safety. We're also launching a full facilities condition assessment to support long-term facilities master plan. It will give us a clear, consistent view of buildings needs across the city and a smarter way to invest. We're also making improvements to the Valentine Center, getting ready for a new chapter as home to Garden of Dreams preschool this summer to support high-quality, accessible childcare. The project is on track to finish by the end of April, thanks to support from several key community partners. We're also working on the Kingman Museum revitalization, focusing on bringing the buildings and systems up to modern standards. Improvements include structural repairs, updated mechanical systems, and accessibility upgrades. And this fall, this is a big one, we're planning to remove the Fountain Street Bridge between Capitol Avenue and the railroad as part of the Kalamazoo River Naturalization Project. It's one of the steps towards restoring a more natural river system and improving long-term flood resilience. We're also making improvements and upgrades to the Hamlin, Jackson, and Michigan Avenue parking structures to improve safety, lighting, and long-term maintenance. And we all remain committed to replacing about 300 lead service lines each year. This spring, starting in mid-March, much of the work will be concentrated in our post-Franklin neighborhood alongside water main upgrades. On the economic development front, the BVLOS system is expected to be operational by the end of the year. Once it's up and running, it will support everything from public safety and infrastructure inspections to medical and industrial uses. It's designed to grow over time and position Battle Creek as part of a broader statewide drone network. The City Commission also invested in the Lakeview District. The LDDA plan modifications were approved in 2025, and including detailed action strategy to support improvements and redevelopment along the Beckley Road corridor, and work is slated to begin with the new LDDA board in 2026. Also, openforbizbc.com is launched. We now have an online guide that walks new and growing entrepreneurs through how to start businesses in Battle Creek. It brings together local resources, steps, and support in one place to make the process easier to navigate. In neighborhood and housing quality of life, we're looking at our 2026 master plan. We're continuing the work on the strategy that began in mid-2025. Guided by our Housing Community Development Steering Committee, we're using streamlined community-focused engagement process to understand what residents want, need from Battle Creek housing infrastructure and future. The final strategy will address our biggest housing challenges and lay out the shared vision for a future policy. We're also seeing interest from the development community. Site plans and concept drawings submitted so far represent nearly 400 new housing units from developers. On top of that, we're in early conversations in 5 additional locations for a mix of housing types, from multifamily affordable units to single-family homes. And this year, the new Battle Creek Housing Fund is underway, thanks to seed support from W.K. Kellogg Foundation and work with the Battle Creek Unlimited and Local Initiatives Support Corporation. The fund is seeking a $1 million investment from our community members through May 31st, 2026 to help bring more housing and options to the community. We're also preparing for several key leadership hires this year, including a new fire chief, a new deputy police chief, and a new assistant city manager. These roles are central to how we deliver services and support to our teams, and filling them thoughtfully will help strengthen stability, continuity, and day-to-day operations across our organization. In 2026, we are continuing our digital accessibility work and moving into the final stretch of our full website redesign that will be completed later this summer. We've been reviewing, testing, and rethinking how everything is organized, and you'll start to see major improvements. The goal is simple. You shouldn't have to know what each department handles to find something that you need. The new site will be organized around service, clear pages, consistent steps, and one place to find every form, so residents can find information faster and reduce frustration. 2026 is shaping up to be a wonderful year, and I look forward to continuing service.
Amanda Zimmerlin, City Manager, Battle Creek. Thank you. Next, in our State of the Community presentation today, we go to Marshall and City Manager Derek Perry.
Good morning and thank you. On behalf of Marshall City Council, I appreciate the opportunity to present to this esteemed panel and also the residents watching on TV. Each year, Marshall City Council adopts an action plan, and for those that are interested in the 2025 items, we complete a narrative on that each year. So that is on our website. There's about 70 or 80 items. So I encourage folks to take a look at that. And then, of course, in January of each year, we adopt an action plan for the upcoming year. So this morning, what I'm going to do is share a few highlights from the 25 and 26 plan, as others have this morning. So our first 2025 accomplishment is our smoke detector program. Again, life safety prevention are critical issues in our community. City Council places a high importance on that. And through our fire department, we've actually received a grant and have some free detectors that our fire department is going door to door and actually doing those install for our residents. So if someone out there is interested and lives within the city of Marshall, please contact the fire department and we can get you on a schedule and we get those installed for you. We appreciate our fire department utilizing this program. Our next project I want to highlight was our Verona Road and West Drive pavement renovation project. That was a road that was in a significant state of disrepair, and it was a $600,000 project, and we were able to leverage a $385,000 state grant. And because of that, West Drive and Verona Road were resurfaced, and we were able to add a new sidewalk in that area, in that neighborhood. So we're proud of that. As we'll talk about our master plan, walkability and connectivity are important to our community. The next item I want to talk about was our Cosmopolitan water main replacement and lining project. We had some water quality issues for that neighborhood in the northern part of the city. So we implemented a lining project because a third of our water main, unfortunately, is cast iron, and that tends to create discolored water. From a safety standpoint, it's fine to drink, but it doesn't look all that attractive. And again, in an effort to increase the water quality for that neighborhood, we installed some new water main and lined that project. That was about a $600,000 project. We also updated our master plan in 2025. If you were a resident of Marshall, hopefully you had an opportunity to participate in some of those updates and pop-up meetings and different workshops that we held. What came clear out of that was walkability, connection is critical for our residents. We need to protect and enhance our downtown. That's kind of our secret sauce, and that was clear to our residents that we need to make sure that we stay focused on that. And then also respect our historical character of the community. So those were the big three takeaways. And again, we appreciate our residents participating in that process because ultimately that is the work plan that we utilize as we move forward with future development and improvements in the community. The other project I want to touch on is our athletic field expansion. That's informally known as Eaton Park, thanks to a donation from them. But just like a lot of communities, pickleball seems to be the fad, and we didn't want to be left behind, so we moved forward with a project. So we now have, we'll do a ribbon cutting this spring, but there'll be 6 new pickleball courts, and then also splash pads. We'll become a member of the splash pad community too as well. So we're excited to again cut that ribbon this spring. It was a $2.6 million project, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank some of our significant donors such as Oak Lawn, Rotary Club. Rotary Club actually brought $100,000 to the table, which was remarkable. And then also we were able to receive a RAP grant above $1 million from the state of Michigan. The Blue Oval project that's been mentioned a little bit already this morning, but significant economic development project not only for the city of Marshall, but for the entire region, county, state of Michigan. One of the biggest things that's come out of that is some of the infrastructure enhancements to the city. Currently, we're working on the improvements to the water treatment plant have been completed. That was $4.9 million worth of improvements that the city and its ratepayers would have had to do on our own at some point. But thanks to the Blue Oval project, essentially some additional state of Michigan funds were able to help us make those improvements. So that's great for our ratepayers. And same thing on the wastewater treatment side. $20 million is being invested into our wastewater treatment plant. And again, that burden would have been placed on our 4,000, 5,000 utility ratepayers, but instead the state of Michigan, because of this economic development project, helped us with those improvements. So again, the value of these economic development projects goes beyond just being a major employer and the tax base that's brought to a community, but also even on the utility infrastructure side. Now transition to a few items for the 2026 goals. One is our Brooks Memorial Fountain. I think if you think of Marshall, you probably think of two things. One is the Brooks Memorial Fountain, and the other is probably Schuler's Restaurant. Those are both pretty much iconic for our community. And the Brooks Memorial Fountain was dedicated to the community in 1930, the 100th year celebration. And we're coming upon actually our 200th year celebration here in 2030. So we'll look forward to some future plans regarding that. But one of those things that we'll be doing is renovating the fountain. The fountain needs to be revitalized. Obviously, it's approaching 100 years, and it has had some renovations over time, but this would be a very significant overhaul. It looks great as you drive by when it's operating, but if you get up close, you can tell that it has aged some, and it has some problems that need to be addressed. In 2025, we actually resurfaced the bowl of the structure, but unfortunately, we had a resident decide that they wanted to drive into the fountain and actually created some more significant damage to it. So this spring, we're going to have to replace some of the curbing and redo that resurfacing. But the goal is to get that up and running as soon as possible, as soon as the weather breaks. And then again, it is, we're looking at probably a $1.5 to $2 million project to revitalize that fountain. So it'll be huge, but again, it's our community's icon, and we need to do it right. Another major project for us will be our downtown traffic calming project. Currently, there's a 4-lane section in our downtown, but on the east end, it's a 3-lane section. And then, of course, at the fountain, it's a 1-lane section. So unfortunately, what it's created is an area where in our downtown, we actually kind of encourage some speeding. So we want to get away from that. The master plan was very clear that traffic calming, pedestrian safety is critical for our community. So we partnered with the Michigan Department of Transportation, which has jurisdiction over that. And we're going to actually reduce the lanes in the downtown. So you'll have a parking lane, a buffer area, 1 lane to travel, a center turn lane, which is new, to reduce rear end collisions, and then of course another travel lane, buffer area, and then a parking lane. So again, we're really focusing on those pedestrian scaled type improvements and making things safer for the pedestrians and a more enjoyable experience in our downtown. And that is being funded 100% by the Michigan Department of Transportation too. Next item I want to talk about are a couple pedestrian projects that we'll be completing. And again, looking back at our master plan, right? That is our guiding document. Walkability, connectivity. So from our fountain area, our downtown area, to what we call our river district, which is where the Dark Horse and some additional unique experiences are located, we're going to be widening essentially the sidewalk in that area to create more of a connection. And again, historical preservation is important in our community, so we're going to have some interpretive signs located along that pathway to kind of take you back to what the town used to look like maybe when the railroad was a little more important along that route. And then, of course, we want to connect the major campus, which is where the Blue Oval facility is located, in our partnership with Michigan Department of Transportation, doing a nice pathway all the way out there too. Another project we're going to focus on is our community camera project. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars investing in improving our parks, equipment, restrooms, facilities, and it's pretty frustrating when vandalism occurs. So part of what we're going to be doing is installing cameras to help protect those assets of the community for the taxpayers. These are your facilities, and we want to make sure that if someone's doing something they shouldn't be doing, we have the ability to catch them and make them, at the end of the day, potentially pay some restitution on that. I will note that currently our fountain, there's a live camera. If you go to our website, you can see that. And when someone ran into the fountain early one morning at 1 a.m., someone was watching that camera and was able to upload and get us those clips right away. Even before the police department had an opportunity to give me a call, the public was out there watching that. So there is value in that, no doubt about it. Another important strategy or issue that we're dealing with is housing, which I think a lot of our partners are as well. We've been fortunate to have, because of the Blue Oval project, a renewed interest in all types of housing, types in the city of Marshall. So we have a new 300 multifamily development on the horizon. Hopefully be breaking ground this spring. Norfolk has 35 some lots, duplexes south of town. In the northeast section of town, we have about 30 or 40 new single family homes, and then our downtown continues to be a popular redevelopment area for second and third floor apartment living. So we're really checking a lot of boxes with the housing, and so it's an exciting time in Marshall because, again, we really had a deficit of housing, and we're finally seeing an uptick in that. And then finally, the last goals I want to touch upon are ordinances. I know sometimes those aren't the most exciting things to talk about, but again, property maintenance, preservation of our historic structures. There's a question on whether we should have golf carts in the community, so I encourage folks to reach out to us if they have an opinion on that. Some simple things like loose dogs, park hours, noxious odors, and then also noise. Noise, surprisingly enough, the city of Marshall doesn't have a noise ordinance, but with the uptick of development, we've started to get some complaints about, hey, I can hear someone fixing a roof at 6 a.m. Isn't there a rule against that? Well, we actually don't have anything on the books. So we want to get something in place so that we can help everyone and remind everyone it's important to be a good neighbor to each other. And that's it. Those are my few items that I wanted to speak to the community about. But I encourage folks, if you have any questions or would like to get some additional details on that, to reach out to me. My contact information's up there. So thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Derek Perry, City Manager, Marshall. Now we go to Springfield. City Manager Aaron Edlefson.
Thank you. So as a new city manager, 2025 for us was marked with learning and listening as we in Springfield have a citizen-driven approach to the way that we manage the city. We want to make sure that obviously the citizens are heard and that we take care of their needs first and foremost, and sharing in the trend with the other cities. One of the things that we focused on this year was drinking water. So we utilized the state's drinking water state revolving fund to improve a lot of our water, approximately 20,000 feet of water main, as well as service lines, pressure relief valves. And we were able to finish that 1 year earlier than we anticipated through the work with our contractors and the dedication of our Department of Public Works. And the majority of that was covered by DWSRF. So approximately 7.1 million of the 8.5 million was covered by forgivable loans and grants. So it was a huge bonus for us, and we were able to do work that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to. The second thing that we focused on was our public safety. We want to support our deputies as well as our firefighters, and so one of the things that we did was we went through the public safety building just to make it more approachable for them and let them know that we honor the work that they do for us, and in turn help them to serve our citizens better. Part of that's replacing our fleet of vehicles. We have some aging Dodge Durangos that we got rid of or are getting rid of, and replacing those with Ford Explorers, so our sheriff's deputies are able to respond as quick as possible and not have to worry about mechanical issues with vehicles. And then on our fire department side, we switched over to First Due, which is a management system that's a little more comprehensive than our current system. So it includes not only communication, so call outs when fires are occurring or other medical emergencies, but it also helps with document management, staff protocols, and training. So we're really looking forward to implementing that. We also were able to adopt a new master plan utilizing a housing readiness grant. So at no cost to us, we have a new master plan and a 20th Street corridor plan. Master plan, as with other communities, really focuses on walkability and making Springfield a more approachable community, not only to work, but also to live. And then the 20th Street corridor plan is a long-term plan that will establish a downtown corridor on 20th Street between Gogwak and Dickman. So it's a long ways in the making, but we're very excited about it, and hope to see some mixed use down there and make Springfield, again, an easier place to work and live in the same community. We also reestablished our Promote Springfield Committee, so that not only will help with economic development, but it will also help with establishing a sense of pride within Springfield. We oftentimes get roped in with Battle Creek. And we want to define that and make sure that people know when they're in Springfield, they are in Springfield. So while I do appreciate Amanda and I working together, we do want to delineate between the two cities and Promote Springfield as one of the arms that we have to do that. And then lastly, the mayor and myself, Mayor Burdette, we made it an emphasis in 2025 to go out and visit our over 250 local businesses to let them know that the city is there to hear their concerns and then address them as we're able to. And then in 2026, we're going to continue that and hopefully get out to even more businesses. Our public works, along with I know all the other cities, was incredibly busy in 2025. Outside of our DWSRF program, we did a lot of road improvements, mostly with mill and overlay. And you can see some of those streets listed there. And then we've been adding vehicles to our fleet as well, 2 contact trucks and a new dump truck. So we're able to respond to those. Water main breaks are a big one that happened that our DPW comes in at a moment's notice to fix. We had one last year that the whole city had to mobilize and we handed out free water. We were in there on a typical day that we weren't, and it was really great to see the city come together and serve the citizens in that capacity. And we also adopted Rave Alert, so when there is a water main break or something else that affects the health and safety of our citizens, we're able to address that quickly and notify the citizens of that potential disruption in services. So that's been very well received. The instructions on how to sign up for that are on our website, so if anyone's interested, they're more than welcome to sign up. And then community events in 2025. One of the things that we brag about in Springfield is we have that small town feel, but accessibility to large city amenities. Again, partnership with Battle Creek, but also utilizing some of the amazing services that are available in Marshall, Albion, and the county at large. But we do have our community events that we focus on centrally in Springfield. Coming up, we have our Easter egg hunt. Of course, that's 2026, but the 2025 Easter egg hunt was a great success. We have our own car show. We have a trunk or treat in which we all got dressed up and handed out candy to our citizens. And then we also have 2 external shows that we focused on that are relatively new to the city. One is the Del Shannon Car Show and Arts and Crafts Fair. So we partnered with the Misfits Car Club to bring that in. And then one that I'm particularly excited for was the Veteran Disc Club Fall Classic. And so we have a local nonprofit that is focused on serving veterans, specifically as it relates to disc golf. And we were able to partner with them to have their first Fall Classic. I had the pleasure of learning disc golf with John. I don't know if he thought it was a pleasure, but it was great for me to get out and actually play and see his enthusiasm for not only the sport of disc golf, but also for our veteran community. As far as home improvements go, we have our own home improvement program, but we were able to partner that with a chill grant from the state through MISHDA, the CDBG Housing Improving Local Livability Program. So we just appointed a new third-party administrator. So we had a lot of changes in 2025, and that goal will continue on into 2026. But through those 2 programs, we were able to do quite a few home renovations, which include windows, furnaces, plumbing projects, garage door replacements, and a roof to really help the citizens of Springfield keep their houses in working order. So on to 2026 goals and projects. We have quite a few. One is to fill our appointed and elected officials. We have 1 vacancy in city council right now, who they'll have a term until November and they'll have to run for re-election. But we recently had a resignation, so we're trying to fill that position. We have 2 planning commission spots, 4 EDC positions, and then 1 on our board of review. And we're really aggressively pursuing individuals to try to fill those so we can get that citizen engagement that we really want to have and get that citizen feedback in all the decisions that we make. We're also purchasing new vehicles across our public safety department. So as I mentioned, in 2025, we replaced our Ford Explorer. We're doing the same thing in 2026, as well as replacing fire department vehicles so they're more mobile and able to address small needs as well as large needs. Instead of running out a giant fire truck, we'll be able to run out F-150s to take care of those issues a little bit quicker and more efficiently. And then when we look at our parks, we take a lot of pride in our parks in Springfield. One of those is Begg Park. So Begg Park is home of our disc golf course. And as I mentioned, working with John from the Veterans Organization, we really realized that we need to make some changes out there. So utilizing our county parks millage, we're going to make some improvements over there. The largest one being a replacement of those targets that we have, or holes, I suppose they're called. So we can host those PDGA tournaments and we can have sanctioned events, and not only the veteran community, but other communities can come out as well. and visit Springfield to do that. We also have our Springfield Schools Memorial Park, which formerly is known as Upton Park. So utilizing several state grants, we're going to make some improvements over there, particularly around accessibility, parking, walkability, new parking spots. There's a couple of sidewalks that need to be replaced. And then on our side, again, utilizing our county parks millage, we're going to improve our basketball court, brand new hoops. It's never been striped before, so we're going to seal it and stripe it and hopefully bring people out to that park. It's a beautiful park. It's centrally located, and we really want our citizens to utilize that more. Street improvement, of course, a common theme across all the municipalities. And in 2026, that will be no different. So in 2025, our citizens were incredibly patient with us as we made those improvements. And again, in 2026, we're going to ask that of them as we go through and we mill and overlay a substantial amount of our streets. One of the fortunate things in Springfield is being a smaller city. We have fewer streets, so our infrastructure is, as a priority, we're able to keep up on. We also have an environmental justice grant that will be implemented in 2026 to help one of our properties make some changes to its current situation regarding shredded plastic. RFP has been issued for that, and we're looking forward to that cleanup. It's going to be a huge environmental improvement for our community and will allow that site to be utilized in other ways than it currently is. We also have some city hall improvements that we're working on. One is a public safety carport through Representative Frisbee's LDSI legislatively directed spending items. We're able to make that improvement. So we got approximately $125,000 grant from his office so we can protect those vehicles as well as our sheriff deputies while they're taking on their duties. And then we're also partnering with Verigy, who's been a partner of the county for some time, most recently with their youth center. So we're working with them in order to make our municipal campus more efficient in regards to energy, as well as making upgrades to our lift stations throughout the community that have not quite come to the end of their life cycle, but we see it on the horizon. So we're excited to be working with them and having them address our city council on April 6th to bring forth their plan. We're also excited. The Navy has been working on the new Marine Corps Reserve Training Center for the last couple of years, and in 2026 that project will be finalized. So of course, we know that there's a large military community in the Battle Creek Springfield area. Most of it's in Springfield, but we're happy to host the Marine Corps, and we're excited to see that their new building, new training center come together. So we have been working closely with them with contracts and different land swaps so they can fulfill their mission. And then lastly, our pension funding level. For the first time since 2011, that pension funding we anticipate will be over 80%. And that really speaks to the leadership and guidance of our finance director and treasurer, Ethan Moody, and the work that he's done. And of course, an unexpectedly high level of returns on some of our investments, but we're really excited about that. Kudos to him for all those efforts. So that's just a synopsis of what's happening in the city of Springfield. I really appreciate the time and attention to be listening to what we've done. Thank you.
Aaron Edlefson, City Manager in Springfield. Thank you. Our final presenter today from Calhoun County, Administrator Controller Kelli Scott.
Thank you. So Aaron, I take it you're not interested in renaming yourself as Battlefield?
No.
All right. The mission of our county government is building a better county through responsive leadership. And that starts at the top with our governing board. County Board of Commissioners is in their second year of a 4-year term. Derek King from District 5 is their elected board chair for the rest of this year. Vice Chair, District 6, Matt Saxton, for the rest of this year. And even though the county commissioners are elected on a partisan basis, they work very well together. They work across the aisle. We do not have any political gridlock. And also, it's always of note that unlike most counties in Michigan, our county commissioners also serve as our road commissioners because we eliminated the road commission back in 2012 to eliminate that one layer of government. So it does add another element to our county commissioners' responsiveness. They are responsive directly to the public related to potholes and other road issues. And I'll just say this group of 7 commissioners, in my opinion, does an excellent job protecting taxpayer dollars and supporting residents' needs. And some of the ways that they demonstrate this effective and transparent government is with, of course, one of the biggest jobs of county commissioners is to adopt a budget. We have a bipartisan budget committee. The board adopted our 2026 budget on time without recommending any rainy day fund reserves. In fact, we're increasing our fund balance. So this is due to the board's support of living within our means and continuing to deliver essential services. And most of the county services, more than 80% of what we do is mandated by the state because we are a political subdivision of the state. The board also, again in 2025, authorized lower millage rates than what were originally approved by voters. So we have chosen not to ask voters to approve a pop-up to the Headley rollback, and we are still committed to affordability for taxpayers. Another example of trying to eliminate hurdles for the public is continuous policy review. And in 2025, the board made 13 updates to county policies. One example that I think is helpful to note is that our road department has a mailbox policy. If your mailbox gets hit by snow or by plows during the winter season, we updated that policy to make it easier to submit those claims. You don't have to fight with us about whether it was the truck or the snow that actually caused the damage. The board also maintains strong fiscal and staffing oversight. And through their appropriation language, they are able to hold department heads accountable. The board approves all new positions, any pay scale increases, significant purchases, budget transfers, and grant applications. So partly because of that, our county financial status is strong. From a countywide perspective, property values are continuing to increase steadily. And you heard from all of our city managers that there are significant growth and development in the works, particularly with housing, but also some commercial and industrial expansion. And partly because of that, when the county asks our independent evaluators for a bond credit rating, we once again in 2025 received a AA credit rating, which is second only to the highest AAA. And also they assigned a stable outlook to Calhoun County. And the reason that's important is because when we finance capital projects, the higher the credit rating, the lower the interest cost, saving our taxpayers. It also gives us the capacity to help finance on behalf of our townships that maybe wouldn't otherwise have the capacity to issue bonds and also wouldn't be able to get the lower interest rate. We also go above and beyond at the county level in our financial reporting. So instead of the basic audit report, we have a very large audit report that includes all kinds of statistical information and analysis and history. And because of that, we have for almost 30 years now received the International Finance Association Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. So next into some of our departments and our other strategies, maintaining public safety and justice is probably at the top of our strategic list. Last year, we finally completed a significant expansion of our youth center, and that allowed us to almost double the space. We added 10 beds, and it really not just helps out our own county and our detention needs, but there is a significant shortage of youth detention centers across the state of Michigan. And so by completing this, we are now back in business. We accept other youth that need to be detained from counties. I think it's over 20 counties across the state of Michigan. And they really like not just that we have a detention center, but that we have evidence-based behavioral management programs that should leave the youth in a better position when they leave to not have to come back. So we're really proud of that expansion, and we'll move on. And then public safety and justice also, of course, the sheriff's office does a wonderful job continuing to demonstrate his commitment to meeting and exceeding professional standards relating to their policies, their operations, and safety. So during 2025, our sheriff's office became the fifth one in the state to earn accreditation through the Michigan Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission. In addition, the sheriff's office earned a gold status through the Lexipol Connect program, which recognizes the highest level for policy compliance and training. numerous townships and villages and schools also contract with the sheriff's office for what I'll call extra law enforcement services beyond what we're mandated to provide. Starting in 2025, we added Lee Township, who wanted some extra law enforcement and traffic control. In 2026, the Sheriff's Office will complete a full implementation of implementing cameras in schools, thanks to a congressionally directed spending grant at the federal level, covered the entire $1.7 million of that cost. So that investment in infrastructure will keep the schools safer, but also if the students and the staff have to worry less about safety, we think that that will really help with teaching and learning, making education more effective, which is really needed in our county and across the state. The county's court systems continue to innovate when it comes to helping our residents. And we have treatment courts in mental health, drug and alcohol, and veterans. So we had 62 graduates in 2025 from those that divert them from just being locked up in the jail. Also in 2025, the district court created a new driver's license restoration court. And also in Calhoun County, there's implementation now of a new court-appointed special advocates, or CASA program, that's located in Battle Creek. And they work with our court system to advocate on behalf of youth who are in the system for neglect and abuse cases. We also had, we're happy to say that we have consistent leadership over the courts going into 2026 and 27. Our chief judges were reappointed, Judge Sarah Lincoln with 37th Circuit Court, Judge Jason Bomia with the 10th District Court, and Judge Michael Jacquinette as the probate court. So I really appreciate the relationship that our courts maintain with county administration and with our other countywide leaders. Our prosecutor's office, Chief Prosecutor Dave Gilbert, was elected this past year as the Vice President of the statewide Prosecuting Attorneys Association. So we appreciate his leadership at the state level. One new initiative also in the prosecutor's office that started in 2025 is that we received a $65,000 safe storage grant to educate the public on new safe storage laws in Michigan. And this is happening already through billboards, social media ads, and more. Our county also, along with 8 others, received grant funds for awareness and outreach efforts for that initiative. And it's important because the prosecutor reports that most of the gun-related crimes, all of those handguns appear to be stolen. None of them are typically legally possessed. Our public defender's office, Dave Macklid, continues also to innovate with helping to provide programs as a pipeline for recruiting, but also he employs a holistic approach to defense, which integrates attorneys and social work. Switching now to another strategy we have, which is promoting health and well-being, another huge priority for county government. Our public health department last year, unfortunately, faced a significant loss of funding, and so that resulted in staffing cuts. Despite that downsizing, we still provided vital services to women, infants, and children. Our school nurses, which again is a program that's pretty unique to our county. Most counties in Michigan do not have school nurses provided by the health department. So they continue, because they're there, to reduce out of class time for students. We have a visiting nurse program that supported nearly 100 first-time mothers. And our Women and Infants and Children, which is the largest public health department program, offered breastfeeding and nutrition education to hundreds of women. The county is also addressing mental health and substance use challenges by deploying private opioid settlement funds, and then also continuing with promoting health and well-being. Our Senior Services Office, our Veterans Affairs Office also use millage funds approved by voters to serve our residents. Our County Treasurer, Melinda Weaver, recently just launched a new home buyer assistance program in 2026 in partnership with one of the local banks, where Homeowners can get up to $6,000 from the county and another $2,000 from the bank to help with down payment assistance. Our land bank also is playing a role in helping with housing in 2026 and 2025. They just recently completed a first complete home rehabilitation and a new build. Our community development department continues to work with the cities, with the townships on improving safety and supporting local governments. So we have a geographic information systems services department that did some address updates countywide and helped out the townships with some zoning maps. We continue during 2026 to help with planning and support for pretty significant solar projects, the largest of which is in Lee Township. We also just created a new countywide brownfield redevelopment authority that, thanks to some legislative changes, can now also use to support housing development. One of the biggest projects we're looking forward to over the next few years is the expansion of internet, or broadband, throughout the county. So there is a federal, what we call BEAD grant, that awarded about $1.5 billion to Michigan. Our county was fortunately, we were awarded the most out of all counties in Michigan. And that construction will happen in over the next several years, and it will allow for more than 12,000 locations in our county to receive internet that don't have that right now. So that's exciting. Okay, on to the road department and infrastructure and protecting our natural resources. We had some leadership changes. We appointed a permanent director and deputy in 2025. We also continue to outpace most other counties in Michigan with the amount of road improvements. We improved 90 roads during 2025, and also a bridge replacement that is unique because it was a partnership with our local tribe who gets separate funding. In 2026, thanks to our state representative Frisbee and others at the state, we are looking forward to utilizing the new state road funding package, which increased the county's revenues by about $6 million, a 36% increase. So that will allow us to improve about 100 miles of local and primary road projects just this year. Okay, our Parks and Recreation Department also has is supported by about $1 million in a voter-approved millage, and we split that 50% for county parks and then 50% to the cities, townships, and villages. In 2025, we made improvements to our Ott Preserve, the Menwabic Meadows in Albion, and the Kimball Pines Park. In 2026, we are planning to create a new boat launch on Custer Drive. And then also Bridge Park is going to get some significant accessibility improvements and boardwalk replacement. The design will happen in 2026 and probably the construction in 2027. We also have a recycling change in the works. So partly in response to state laws that now require us to expand recycling, we are looking to relocate our current recycling center from the road department to another location in Marshall Township. So that design work is going to happen. We have an RFP out right now to select the design firm. We're securing grants to actually pay for the new recycling center. And we have until the end of 2027 to implement the new laws. So over the next couple of years, that will allow for more hours, expanded recycling, and just a better experience for our residents. Our Water Resources Commissioner, who was newly elected this last term, is reporting that he is experiencing a record number of new permits, mostly due to the solar and broadband expansion. So in conjunction with that, he's doing a lot of work working closely with the contractors to make sure that these efforts are happening in a way that does not damage our county drains. And then also in 2026, he will be implementing measures to meet newly established lake levels for Emerald and Laird Lakes, which are in Battle Creek, and then assisting the new Lion Lake Board in planning for a drain improvement in Athens. Another, I think you've heard from most of our city managers, we're all working on technology projects because technology changes. Our clerk's office has already automated a voting inspector scheduling program. Our county IT department increased significantly our cybersecurity training, which reduces our risk level. We have a new purchasing and bid management system that should be easier for vendors to do business with the county. And then we are also looking to make sure we're compliant with the new website accessibility rules. We do have a chat bot, Ask Cal, that is on our website. Feel free to try that out. We're almost done. So I always talk about supporting our workforce. Calhoun County is a large employer. We have about 700 employees in a wide variety of career options. Some recent HR initiatives are that we have a new applicant tracking system, again, to make it easier to do business with the county. We've been able to contain our benefits costs, the increase this year by only 3.7%. And part of that is we have an on-site employee health and wellness center in Battle Creek that saves our employees, but also saves the county. And then we do a lot to engage our employees, give them an opportunity to get together with those from other departments that maybe they don't work with. We only have 9 current job openings, which is amazing. That's down considerably. So it's a sign that I think the market is improving. And then finally, last but not least, intergovernmental cooperation is one of our major strategies. And really, intergovernmental coordination is what this State of Community event is all about, right? It's what makes our local government successful in meeting our residents and our visitors. So I'm so thankful for our city managers, Doug, Derek, Aaron, and Amanda, all of whom are relatively new in their roles. And I look forward to welcoming Cheryl back to Albion. I'm also very grateful for our state and federal legislators who fight for funding and fight for policies that help our local governments and our communities thrive. The state of Calhoun County remains strong because of all of this collective leadership and because of our commitment to working together to do what's best for the people we serve.
All right. Thank you, Kelli. Kelli Scott, Administrator Controller, Calhoun County. This concludes the presentation portion of the State of the Community this time. In preparing for this program, we asked residents to submit questions through an online portal, and we thank you for having done that. We have a number of questions today, the majority of which seem to be focused on Battle Creek and Marshall. So Amanda and Derek, you'll be facing some of these questions, and there's a couple of others too. We'll see if we can get to all of these. I will also say in the beginning here, there were a number of questions that focused on noise, businesses, near neighborhoods, things of that nature. So the individual questions are very similar, so we'll try to narrow that down. But individual questions will be responded to. Thanks for those. So for the purposes of this, we'll focus on this question, which essentially characterizes all of those. And this is for Amanda. Why isn't the city of Battle Creek doing more to protect noise pollution for the neighborhoods near businesses, especially on Columbia Avenue?
That's a good question, and I'm sure that a lot of people have had that question. Having a business district abutted next to a residential district isn't unique to Battle Creek. It's very common. Whenever you have that business zoning, if something like a car wash is permitted in that zoning, they have a right to build that car wash there. The city of Battle Creek doesn't have a requirement that those types of businesses put up any type of sound barrier between the residents and the business. However, if there are issues like loud music coming from those utilizing those services, we do have a noise ordinance that the police department is able to enforce, and I would encourage our residents to call the police department if that is the case.
All right, Derek, we'll go to Marshall next. It really isn't a question, but you may have a response to this. Marshall seems to be a dumping ground for pollution, was the submission.
Okay, well, pollution, chemicals, things, I guess pollution's kind of a big loaded word, right? But essentially, the EPA at the state level, EGLE, regulates those types of things. But if there are specific instances that a resident has identified as pollution, I would encourage them to reach out and give us a call so that we can investigate that and involve the state or the federal, agencies that need to take a look at that. But again, not sure specifically what they're pointing to, but if there is an area or a location that they have a concern about, please let us know and we'll follow up with them.
All right. Amanda, this one has to do with walkability. What is being done to make Battle Creek a more walkable city? Many streets don't have sidewalks, and those that do are poorly maintained. There doesn't seem to be any enforcement for residents and business owners to keep the sidewalks in front of their homes and businesses clear. This forces pedestrians to walk in the road, and that can be dangerous.
Again, that's a very good question. For the limited amount of funding that the city has for infrastructure, we're focusing on roads and bridges and making sure that infrastructure is shored up first. We are, however, requiring that new developments that come in put in sidewalks. And whenever we are taking on larger road projects, we are then, repairing sidewalks as we go along. As far as keeping sidewalks clear during snow events, one, I've been promised that this winter is not like normal winters in Michigan, that we had a particular heavy winter. But our residents and businesses do have 24 hours after a significant snowfall to get out and clear those spaces. And with the amount of snow and the duration of snow, I think it snowed just about every single day through winter. It's hard to keep up on those things. But I can assure you that our code enforcement is going out, knocking on doors, making contacts and having residents and businesses clear roads.
Okay, thank you. Back to Marshall. Derek, are members of your board or council and subordinate commissions and staff willing to not sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements? What about for elected officials only? Do you support recent legislation in the Michigan legislature to ban NDAs?
Yeah, again, another word that elicits strong emotions, right? Non-disclosure agreements. Again, I want people to understand that when a project comes forth, whether to a planning commission, a city council, city commission, all those decisions are made in the open, in the public, as required by state law. Non-disclosure agreements don't allow for a development project to circumvent any of those public processes. However, on the economic development side, some developers require non-disclosure agreements to be signed in order for them to even begin conversations, right? So again, they're not broad enough that they, again, are allowed to circumvent those processes, those deliberations by those elected boards, but there is a place in that. Otherwise, the reality is economic development will not occur in the state of Michigan. And again, some people that are anti-development, new jobs, they're probably okay with that. But there is a place. I think it's a small, minute case for that. But again, I think the concern for the majority of public is, are they getting some backroom secret deal? Or is there information that can't be released to the public? And the reality is that information that is part of that approval process is made in the public under the lights.
Okay. We'll stay in Marshall a moment. Here's another question. Why is a data center going in south of Marshall instead of the major campus? And why wasn't there a public hearing to hear residents' opinions on having a data center in Marshall?
Yeah.
More transparency is needed, is the submission.
Sure. So again, that goes back to, local units of government are creatures of the state of Michigan. And we only have the ability to do things that the state allows us to do. Part of that would be the Zoning Enabling Act, which allows us to, again, not pick winners and losers, whether you want a Mickey D's or a Burger King. What it does allow us to do is create areas, district zoning areas, that say, okay, these types of uses are acceptable in these specific areas. Kind of back to the point Battle Creek was making, where you have commercial versus residential. So the area to the south of town, what they're referring to is the Brooks Industrial Park, which has been zoned industrial for decades. The city purchased that in the 60s. There was some economic development that occurred, but not a lot. And most recently, it basically sat idle. again, the free market allows folks to come in and purchase property and review the zoning and decide whether they think they can make a go of it in your community, in that area, in that zoning. And that's exactly what happened. So we have a developer who's potentially interested in potentially siting a data center. They're in the process of doing a lot of due diligence because there is wetlands, which again are regulated by the state of Michigan through Eagle. And there's very specific rules on what you can and can't do with that. Obviously, there would be potential implications on power, electricity. Marshall is an electric utility, so we'll have a big say in how that contract works out. City Council, again, will be able to weigh in that as part of that public process. And then also water use. I know that's a concern for folks too. And again, we are a public water supply, so we'll have some definite say in how that works out. Again, City Council will be able to weigh in on that too. But why that was cited there is because property was for sale, it was zoned correctly, and someone decided they wanted to spend some money to see if they could put a project there.
Okay, back to Battle Creek a moment. Amanda, the Federal Center is falling into a state of irreparable disrepair, the submitter says. The citizens of Battle Creek want to be sure we're left with a functional building when the government moves out. How will our county and city governments ensure that we don't get stuck with a giant gravestone instead of an international historical treasure?
Again, that's a very good question. So when the GSA placed the Federal Center back on the disposition list, in our conversations with them, if that building were not to sell, they are still required to maintain it. So we're not fearful that the building is going to be a large gravestone, as our neighbor suggested. We are working diligently, between the city, the county, Battle Creek Unlimited, to find space for those employees at the Federal Center who may be displaced to make sure we can keep them here in Battle Creek. But as far as code compliance, we'll make sure that that they're required to maintain the building.
I would just add that, we have laws, regulations, guidelines, enforceable actions that can be taken if property owners don't maintain the property within those codes. And so I think you can be assured that we'll all work together to make sure that the best outcome can happen if the building is no longer used.
All right. Amanda, will you consider decreasing the City of Battle Creek water and sewer readiness rates now that we no longer fund city buses and transportation, or reduced readiness rates for seniors?
So, I think sometimes that it can be confusing for people who don't do this for a living when we're talking about how funding takes place. And we're talking about our water rates and our water system. That's an enterprise fund. So it is self-sustaining, and we can only use those funds for that. So the elimination or the transition from our transportation services to a countywide transportation services has no real material impact on the service of our water. So no, there won't be any adjustments there because of the transition from ER to TAC.
Okay. We know roads are a popular subject. Here is one. I think, Kelly, this comes your way. When will the crumbling and deteriorated roads in Homer Township be repaved and drive south, for example, versus just patching? The patches are not working anymore.
Absolutely. Road questions are very difficult to answer. In Michigan, the local road system, while owned by the county, requires or limits the amount of improvement that the county can use our state funding to add to that. So we work very well with our townships in partnership to match when we're doing improvements to local roads. We have continuously discussed with Homer Township officials what the long-term plan is, what the very short-term plan obviously is to continue to patch. We are required, the county road department is required to keep the roads in safe condition. So we will patch and patch and patch until there is a funding solution where we can get match funding. Now, with the new road funding package, there is some more flexibility with part of that. That money has not been received yet. The Neighborhood Roads Fund that does give us more flexibility to fix roads without that required match. So it's an ongoing discussion, really comes down to resources. We've got to come up with solutions either to make the roads more passable through turning them to gravel, at least for the meantime, until there can be funding to repave, or until we can come up with a solution to fund that. But we know that Homer Township has some of the poorest roads in our county, and we continue to work with them and just know that we're doing our best in the meantime to keep the drivers safe.
All right, thank you. Back to Marshall, I think, anyway, some concerns about truck traffic on 15 Mile Road. Truck traffic there has been horrific, this submitter says, for the past few years. Trucks drive dangerously fast. The noise makes conversations difficult outside the home, and we feel like we live on a highway. Many of us are concerned as our quality of life has diminished. What will be done to mitigate this situation with increased development on 15 Mile and elsewhere?
Yeah.
I suppose, Derek, this is yours.
Maybe a 15 and a half mile road, those are actually county roads. However, I'm sure it's related to the construction at the major campus, right? Mm-hmm. Which again, unfortunately, during construction, there is impacts to additional truck traffic and contractors moving in and out. The hope would be that once the development is complete as far as construction goes and Blue Oval moves into production, that you'll still have traffic moving in and out of there. However, $300 million has been spent by the Michigan Department of Transportation to funnel that traffic off of 69 onto Opportunity Drive into the campus and out of the campus. So there should be a significant reduction in some of these county major and local streets as far as seeing that construction traffic.
Will there be an ordinance, Derek, this is Marshall, created regarding single-family homes being turned into multifamily rental units?
So actually, there's a conversation going on at the state level right now on whether locals will have the ability to do that going forward. Housing's a critical issue. I understand the protectionism folks want. They don't want to lose the character of that single-family homes. Again, that's where zoning comes in and those regulations. But again, if you have specific concerns related to that, I would pay attention to what's going on at the state level, because we may be preempted at the local level on some of those protections that some of those locals find valuable.
When do you think developers should share project details with the public? When officials are first approached by the developer, when the project is publicly announced, when the developer submits site plans and specifications for approval? Not at all?
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. In Marshall, we actually have a community engagement plan policy that what we consider major developments, they have to engage the community. The question is exactly that. When do you do it, right? So we receive lots of calls regarding potential speculation about projects. So it's, again, a lot of times you don't have the information that really, you need specifics in order to share things with the public, I think. Otherwise, you're just trying to respond to, again, speculations and things that'll change in the next few days, because that's the reality of how economic development occurs. So, but once you have specifics, like this is what the facility is going to look like, this is how tall, this is where potentially, these would be the impacts that it would bring to the community, that's when you start having those conversations.
There's a related question, I think, at least in part. Do you think public should have any input before major zoning changes, which would allow large energy and industrial projects, are planned for and implemented by surveys, open houses, discussions with constituents, or other similar means?
So that's actually a requirement, a legal requirement of rezoning, that you have these public opportunities to come in and weigh in. In fact, if there's changes and you're specifically within 300 feet by state law, you're going to receive an actual letter from the municipality saying, hey, this is what's going on, folks. And then again, from the greater community, there's public notices requirements. What it does do is it requires people to be engaged, right? You have to be, there's a responsibility being a citizen. And part of that is engaging with your community and knowing what's going on. And again, people should take that seriously. And make that commitment to want to be aware of what's going on in your community.
And I suppose a postscript of that is that all of you have means by which you connect and try to make sure folks are aware of things that are going on.
Yeah.
By way
Yeah.
of websites and.
And I'll just follow up. Communication is critical and important, and one of the things we're going to try to do in our upcoming fiscal year is actually fund a community engagement and communications professional, so that, again, we take that additional step above and beyond what we're required to do just by law.
Okay. Thanks to all of you for responding to those questions. It should be noted that additional questions can be submitted through the portal that you submitted questions previously through the end of March. So you'll have through March 31, 2026 to do that, and you can find it on the Calhoun County website. Well, thanks everyone for participating today and for folks joining us to watch the program. We hope you found the updates from our leaders insightful and informative as we look back on 2025 and ahead in 2026. We encourage you, as Derek just said, stay involved and continue to work together for the betterment of our communities. Look forward to building a brighter future together. I'm Richard Pyatt. Take care.